that you're going to have to be familiar with these type diagnoses because they show up a lot. And as soon as we get into it, you're going to understand why. Like the little cartoon here, as I suspected, acute pretendicitis. Okay, you're going to have patients who have pretendicitis too, or other variants of this type of disorder. So, in DSM-5, the category, and this is a new one for this go-around, somatic symptom and related disorders, and they've actually done lots of modifications over the past number of years, consolidating and better defining and naming these disorders, because they've changed names a little bit from what they used to call them even several years ago. So I'm going to bring you up to date and give you some of the older words so you kind of see what those are, because the older practitioners will probably use the older terms, but there are definitely newer terms out there. But within this group of disorders, we have somatic symptom disorder, illness anxiety disorder, conversion disorder. I'm just going to mention briefly. I'm not going to make y'all go into all the details of that. But it's also called functional neurological symptom disorder. Big word, mouthful word. Psychological factors affecting other medical conditions, a grab bag. Factitious disorder, made up, faking. Unspecified somatic symptom and related disorder, and then unspecified. So we'll look at the ones in green, all of them except conversion disorder, in a good bit of detail. And then, here's what's common about them. All the disorders in the category have one thing in common: a prominence of somatic symptoms associated with distress and impairment. That's how they've grouped them together now. They have to have some body complaint that is associated with significant distress and impairment. Now, there's a lot of other qualifiers to kind of figure out what the category is, but body symptoms that cause distress or impairment. Individuals with the disorders with prominent somatic symptoms are commonly encountered in primary care. They often don't show up in mental health because they've got medical problems per their assessment, so they need to see a medical provider, and they don't consider psychiatrists medical providers in the sense of what's wrong with my body. They think something's wrong with their body. The diagnosis is what's wrong with their mind, but they don't go there. That's not their problem. It's the body, don't you know? And let me show you how they do it. Okay, one other body topic we're going to talk about actually fits under obsessive compulsive. It's actually grouped under obsessive compulsive and related disorders, but I did not cover it a couple days ago. We did that because it actually is part of this body presentation. You're going to get a lot of body complaints. People come in, they always, there's always something wrong with my body, but it's how they come in and present it that will help fix these different diagnoses. Okay, so let's look at somatic symptom disorder. Okay, it's kind of interesting. Here's your diagnostic criteria. One or more symptoms that are distressing or result in disruption of daily life. So you got to have one or more symptoms, something. Excessive thoughts, feelings, or behaviors related to the somatic symptom or associated healthcare concerns as manifested by at least one of the following. So at least one or more symptoms, and then they have to have persistent thoughts about the seriousness of that symptom or symptoms. So thoughts about seriousness, persistently high levels of anxiety about the health or their symptoms, excessive time and energy devoted to these symptoms or health concerns. So a symptom and then over insistent thought about seriousness, high level anxiety, or a lot of time devoted to it. Okay, so it kind of dominates, their life. Although any one symptom may not be continuously present, it might be my arm, it might be my back, it might be my neck, it might be my head, they have to have been symptomatic persistently over at least 6 months. So they could have the same head problem for 6 months, or they could have several different body parts in movement, that they have had this complaint about. When you make the diagnosis, not only do you call it somatic symptom disorder, but you also specify if it's with predominant pain, because for some people it's pain. Sometimes it could just be weakness, not pain, but weakness or some inability to use. So you have to specify that. And then if persistent, severe symptoms marked compared to long duration. So to put persistent, their symptom has to be severe per their assessment, it has to cause marked impairment, and it has to be of long duration to get that label. You also specify the severity, and that it's either mild, moderate, or severe, and the way that's defined by DSM-5 is only one symptom from criterion B, that is either thoughts about seriousness, anxiety, or time and energy devoted to it, okay? Moderate, 2 or more from that category, and then severe is 2 or more of those, plus there are multiple complaints, or one something that's just so bad it's devastating by their assessment. Okay, so that's all the little pieces. So let's look at it. Here's some more stuff to help you kind of figure it out. Because these are kind of hard to initially wrap your head around, so we're going to look at it a lot of different ways so you can kind of sort it out. The somatic symptoms without medical explanation are not enough to make the diagnosis. If they come in and say that they have it, a somatic symptom without a medical explanation, you cannot still say they have it. They have to have the distressing thoughts, the anxiety, the overwhelming time and effort spent on it to go that direction. So it's not only a complaint, it's the way they deal with the complaint, you know, emotionally, mentally. The suffering must be present. That's the piece that's missing. So the thoughts have to be persistent about it. They have to have high anxiety, spend lots of time with it, one of those things. And for them, the suffering is real. You may not find anything wrong with them, but there is something in their mind, it is real. They are not faked. And this you have to remember this for somatic symptom disorder. It is not faked. There's some other diagnoses we'll look at where it is faked, and they know it's faked when they come in. These people come in and it is not faked. Now, how you figure out it's faked or not, we'll look at some more stuff in here, because how do you know if somebody's intentionally misleading you or not? How do you know if it's in their brain? You know, so you have to keep looking at them. Patients often undergo expensive time-consuming tests and ineffective treatment. You know, ineffective in quotes, because if it wasn't anything wrong, how could it be effective? Except that it didn't satisfy the psychic disturbance that they have with the deal. They're often unusually sensitive to medication side effects. It's not that there's something physiologically wrong with them, it's the way that they receive and experience things. So if they were to get a little bit of queasiness with this, or a little bit of, you know, weakness over here or something, it would be big for them. They would state it as bigger. They're often unusual, that they often feel their workup and treatment are inadequate because they've had this problem and you can't figure it out, and it's not working, and you haven't figured it out. What's wrong with you? Can't you figure it out? It's on you. Patients do not perceive themselves as psychiatrically disturbed, and they resist psychiatric referral. It's the body, it's not my head. They may be at increased risk for suicide. They also have anxiety and depressive disorders, so they can be comorbid with the diagnosis of anxiety as well. Now, what causes it? And nobody knows. They usually come from chaotic, unstable, and dysfunctional families. They may use physical symptoms as a coping mechanism or for attention. They don't know they're doing it. They're not intentionally doing it. But whatever has happened to them as a person over time, they end up with these somatic complaints. However they are conceptualizing it psychically, but it must serve a purpose. It has to be serving some purpose for their mind to bring this into the picture. Maybe it's a coping mechanism, maybe for attention. If they intentionally know that they're doing it for intention, it's no diagnosis. When you start doing stuff because you want somebody to look at you, that's another, I'll show you what that one is when we get to it. So they won't tell you that they're doing it for attention. You can't choke it out of them. That's not their deal. They are suffering, and they have problems. They tend to be female, unmarried, non-white, poorly educated, and from rural areas. Isn't that interesting? So a lot of them in Oklahoma. Okay, just saying. They usually friendly with medical office staff because they kind of hang out there a lot. You know, that's kind of one of the places to go. Here, there's some testing can be helpful. You know, we've had the PHQ-9, the PHQ whatever. There's a whole bunch of PHQs, but I put a copy of the broad, big generalized PHQ in the folder just to look at it. There is one section of that PHQ that you can use when you're just trying to screen people in general. there's 13 different symptoms in there. There's somatic symptoms, just body complaints. If you get them answering bothered a lot by at least 3 of those symptoms without an adequate medical explanation, then you might be looking at somatic symptom disorder. Here's what the questions are about. Stomach pain, not at all, a little bit, a lot. Back pain, not at all, a little bit, a lot. Pain in your arms, legs, or joints, menstrual cramps or other problems, pain or problems during sexual intercourse, headache, chest pain, dizziness, fainting spells. It's kind of like a review of systems and ways. And if you get a hit of a lot, bothered a lot, then it may be something to think about when you first evaluate their PHQ. I just put the PHQ in your packet so they've got to look at. I think, has anybody given to you before? We get little sniffs of them, but they haven't really done the big blowout. Have y'all gotten it before? No? Okay, there it is. If you can look and see what all is in it. It's kind of interesting, but these 13 items are in there. In the form uploaded is the most recent version of it. It's worded, it's nicely worded. It's a good document. Lab findings and imaging. What do you get on these people who have these complaints that are real for them and that they're suffering from? Well, no specific findings as expected. Neuroimaging studies have not been reported. They don't really go in and look at the brain to see if there's some area not functioning right. Most of these people end up getting a diagnosis anyway that really isn't the diagnosis. There's so many disturbances that they don't get the diagnosis. They may call it fibromyalgia when you've got vague complaints that rotate all around that are distressing and disabling. Fibromyalgia, and that's a real disorder, it's bad. Chronic fatigue syndrome is another one, kind of vague, kind of hard to get a hold of, not sure about. It's been really in the paper and news off and on from time to time. Chronic pain syndrome, dysautonomia. Have y'all heard that before? You don't have to remember all this stuff. I'm just giving you some things to think about. Dysautonomia is when a person's autonomic nervous system does not function properly, and you know that every organ in your body is innervated by the autonomic nervous system: heart, lungs, abdomen, intestines, everywhere. So if you had a non-functioning gut, for example, maybe you have spasms, okay, that you're getting a lot of, sympathetic stimulation or parasympathetic stimulation or imbalances, and they go, well, here it's kind of cramping up and I feel sick. Okay, maybe that can be figured out over time. But those are the types of diagnoses they get. Broad complaints fit into a lot of buckets. Treatment approaches. You avoid statements like this is all in your head or there's nothing wrong with you. A lot of these things, it's common sense to us. I mean, honestly, I'll go, it's probably just in your head. Okay, well, that's what the people in the street will say. But that doesn't help somebody who's got this, because they truly are suffering, and to say it like that actually kind of bashes whatever peace it gives them to have this explanation, whatever's going on in their mind. I know it sounds strange, almost like they want their problem and you can't take it away from them because it serves some purpose that we haven't figured out what it is, but it's important to their being. Only do diagnostic or therapeutic procedures if there are objective signs or symptoms present. You don't want to go full court press on people when you don't really see anything, you can't find anything, you're spending money, you might hurt them, with some of these tests. You have only one provider prescribable medications that coordinate medical care, because if they go complaining to 4 different people, they could end up with 4 different treatment plans, and they end up with a laundry list of medications. That's how it happens anyway. I've seen tons of people over time that just have tons of medications because they've doctor shopped and hopped all over the place. So-and-so helps me with this, so-and-so helps me with that, so-and-so helps me over here. And they get medicines for everything. Before you know it, it's like, oh my gosh, what is going on in here? A confrontational approach may lead the patient to shop for a new provider. Now maybe that's where you need to be at a certain point too. Sometimes patients can drive you up the wall. They really can, and just accept that that's the way it is. And maybe if you can't help somebody over a period of time, sometimes I invite them to go find somebody who's more effective. Obviously we have failed. I don't have any ego about that. I've done all I can do, I've thought all I can thought, but it seems not to be making a lot of difference, and I feel unhappy for you that we haven't been able to make anything better, it doesn't make good sense to keep coming here because we are at the end of our line about what we have to offer and think. It might make more sense to get another opinion to look at this. I mean, I think that's reasonable. I mean, I've seen providers go years with the same type thing, nothing ever changes. Why do you do that? What is that? I'm just asking the question because it doesn't make sense at a certain level. What are the complications and prognosis for people who have this? They're at high risk for iatrogenic complications. Y'all have had that word before, right? Iatrogenic. Well, if you hang around the health system saying something's wrong with you, and the health system starts doing things to you, then you might get a problem that's related to the health system. Okay, it's not, I mean, going to a hospital, I really don't want to be in a hospital. And if I go into a hospital, I want to be in and out very quickly. Really, I truly do. Because the longer you hang out in the hospital, bad things happen. By mistake, nobody's trying to hurt you, but it's just a high-risk place to hang out, okay, as a general rule. They can get addicted to prescribed analgesics or anxiolytics. You know, they keep saying, I've got a complaint here, it really hurts, my back is killing me, please help me. Okay, then there they go with one, they get a bunch of these, and before you know it, now they have a problem. Surgical complications. These people can wheedle folks into doing exploratory surgeries. My guts are killing me, and they'll open them up. Okay, if you get opened up enough times, you can get adhesions, scarring, scar tissue happens. That can create a problem. Management of disease is aimed at reducing symptoms and containing medical care costs. I mean, obviously, you don't want to spend a fortune, but if the patient keeps complaining, what are you going to do? It's hard. No cure, no evidence of reduced lifespan. Now, are y'all totally frustrated? Okay. You almost have to hear everything today to be able to put this in perspective, to get it in place. I've come out with it first because it's the first one to get on the table. You have to know that such a thing exists. Somatic symptom disorder. Now these are Dr. Phil. It's back to back, and it's a woman who has somatic symptom disorder. It's actually pretty interesting, and it will show you some stuff. So let me just give you the two clips back to back.
That, see, people misunderstand hypochondriac. They think you're
This
a
is not
hypochondriac, right? That's what you said. You think she's a hypochondriac. Family members have said that. And, you know, there's kind of a new term for that now. This is a somatic symptom disorder, and I want you to read this. Very high levels of worry about illness and tendency to appraise symptoms as unduly threatening, harmful, and often think the worst about their health. Also, one or more distressing and significantly disruptive somatic symptoms present. Okay? Now, let's think about that for just a second, okay? Take a look at that. Very high levels of worry about illness. So definitely true there, correct? And tendency to appraise symptoms as unduly threatening. Which means you tend to overinterpret or overreact to the symptoms, that you exaggerate them in some way, in your own mind.
No, I don't feel that.
Okay, well, often think the worst about their health. True? You think the worst about your health?
Over the last few years, yes, because
Okay,
I've gotten
so that's
scary
the
diagnoses.
And also one or more distressing and significantly disruptive somatic symptoms. So a physical symptom, one or more, that is actually distressing to you. Like you haven't been in the bathroom for 18 minutes. That would be a somatic symptom that would be distressing to you, right?
No, because it's just not normal. And why the doctor say that's
So
not
it
normal?
seems that a lot of this would apply to you. The only thing that you would disagree with is that you overinterpret symptoms or think they're unduly threatening. Here are a few of the characteristics. Just want you to consider this. Distress or disruption of daily life due to one or more somatic symptoms. So is your daily life disrupted?
My whole life has been disrupted.
You just said, I keep this room bright and cheery because I'm in here 15, 20 hours a day, right? I live in this room. I even have my Hello Kitty microwave in here so I don't have to go into the kitchen to prepare meals.
Yeah, because I'm too fatigued to even want to get out of my room.
Yeah, too fatigued, you want to go here. Disproportionate and persistent thoughts about the seriousness of one's symptoms.
Yeah.
I would check that one off. For persistently high levels of anxiety about health or symptoms, right? Excessive time and energy devoted to these symptoms or health concerns.
Yes.
You say you go to doctors 4 or 5 days a week, you've got a box of
Watch
pills
this.
that are huge, you take a lot of medications.
Into that.
Shamita has been prescribed over 80 medications. Over 80 medications. I don't wonder that
I don't understand why these people are laughing.
they're laughing at it's a shock aspect. It's a shock aspect.
It's a shock to me. The doctors are the ones giving you these medications and saying, you need to take these because you're sick, and if you don't take these, you're not going to get better.
Wow, that's a lot of medications.
Oxycodone.
And that kind of medication, taking that many different medications in that concentrated fashion across a period of time can definitely disrupt the homeostasis of your body. It can get you out of balance and make you sick. The current ones you're taking are on the screen now. So that's the list you gave us, and boy, that's a lot of medication to be taken. Some of them work at cross purposes.
Yeah,
Some are up, some are down.
Vitamin
That's
X.
our frustration is who's talking to who? Is she being honest with all the doctors? Like, this does not seem normal.
You bet it's not normal. Okay. Okay, so you see, this woman believes something's wrong with her for real. All right, now we'll get the second one. This is a continuation. That one, first one was somebody filmed it on the TV screen because that little light blotch in the middle. I don't know why they did that. Like, give me
Wouldn't the doctors
stuff.
look at at her medication list? Stop.
Did you see the medicine list?
Right, like, wouldn't they look at that and be like, all right, I'm not gonna put you on anything else, I'm gonna take you off some stuff?
Now, here's the rest of the story on that, and this is what will happen to you all too, and is gonna happen to you. If you do not dig hard about what they're taking, they have my 10 things from Dr. X. That's just what he does. They aren't gonna bring their 10 things from Dr. X, they're gonna sit down there. I've had treatments in the past, but they haven't worked. Okay, the bottles are all in the house, they got refills all going. Then, well, we're gonna figure it all out, do our test and work it up. Now, we put our stuff in there, and you fail to. That's in the tank. You don't know what they've got. You have to have them bring all the crap in. You cannot believe a patient. Even if you ask them to bring it all in, they may not bring it all in. If you don't have a co-informant, like we have for some of these psychiatric disorders, to know what are they really doing at home, you really can't find it out. So you have to push and press hard to figure it out. I've had people, finally, a daughter comes in with their mother, and they bring everything in a box, and you just go, I mean, seriously, I mean, you're sitting there thinking, I mean, it's just all over. It's like, and what are you taking? Tell me what you're doing. Then they start going, it's like, oh, you just get so distressed by it. It's just crazy. Yeah, Jason.
What is the difference between that and hypochondriac?
We're going to get to it. When he first said it, it was like they brought her in as a hypochondriac, and he's saying, no, you're not a hypochondriac. You are somatic symptom disorder. Just to give you the advanced warning, hypochondriasis is no longer a word used in DSM-5 diagnoses. They call it illness anxiety disorder. Okay, this is the next one we're coming to. But you have to kind of have both of those, because illness anxiety, there's nothing wrong with you. There really is nothing wrong with you. And these people really, they know they just worry about something's gonna be wrong with them. These people actually feel something is wrong with them, whether there's a pathologic reason behind it or not, pathophysiologic reason. So it's a good distinction. When we're done with that, we'll have all the words down. But it's a good question. Okay, here we go. She actually looks like Tammy Faye Baker. Just a little bit kind of over made up. You might almost think histrionic personality. I don't know, just observing.
I look ridiculous on the taping, and it just makes me look like a crazy person. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my daughter being so brash. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's coming from a sincere place.
See what this
If
is
you
doing
can
to this
get
whole
your
family.
life back, if you can get out of that room 15 or 20 hours a day, if you can get back to jogging around the track, going to movies, hanging out with friends, doing things with your children, would you rather do that or would you rather be a patient?
I would love to do that. I mean, that's what I'm really surprised. Saves me a little bit. At least, I tried. I'm really shocked that Sebastian, he told me that he supported me on the take.
Dr. Felton, I can help with her on that because she's told me within the last 2 to 3 years, she says, I hate what this has done to us. I hate what this has done to our family. I hate having to go to another doctor's appointment. So I genuinely believe those are true ways that she feels. She just doesn't know how to get there.
But you know, Owen, people on heroin tell me they hate being addicted.
True.
But they will step over their mother's dead body to get to the next fix.
Absolutely.
They'll tell you they hate it. They hate being a slave to it, but they can't stop.
Right.
And this woman is addicted to being sick. This woman is addicted to doctors. She's addicted to the attention that comes from being a patient. I'm telling you, and you can think, you can shake your head and shake me off if you want to, but you have gotten to the point that you've lost control of this, and she doesn't have insight to it. We've got to get that back. We've got to get her back where she sees this objectively. And I'll give you an example. Would you agree that she talks about and focuses on this?
Oh,
a lot?
absolutely. If that's what you're living, of course, absolutely.
Well, but it's what you're living. If you're, it's like a dog chasing its tail.
Right.
You say, well, of course she focuses on it because it's what she's living. And it's what she's living because she's focused on it. And she's focused on it because it's what she's living. It's what she's living because she's focused on it. This goes around and around and around, but pretty soon you start to circle the drain and it goes down. You've got to break out of that cycle. Does that mean she's not sick? Of course, but there are people that are way sicker than her that go on with their lives and do what they're doing. And that's what we have to get to here. That has to be the goal.
All right, does that give y'all a better idea about what this is? This is kind of what we're looking at, real suffering, but no pathology behind it. Okay, so that's a tough one. Okay, now, just hold that one out there. Somatic symptom disorder, feeling something real, not faking, disrupted life. Worrying, stress, spending time on it repetitively. Multiple medications usually, lots of issues, and no real etiology that you get your hands on. So it's a psychological, psychiatric diagnosis for sure. How to treat, that's the question. Okay, so hold that one out there. Now we're going to go to illness, anxiety disorder. Okay, I knew it's coming. It's all right. Okay. Previously called hypochondriasis in DSM-4, the Roman numeral. Now we're into DSM-5, the Arabic number. So we've kind of moved into a new world here. Okay, now this one, here it is. There is a preoccupation with having a serious illness or a preoccupation with acquiring a serious illness. Either having or acquiring. They can be sick for real, or they can be worried about getting sick. The somatic symptoms are not present, or if they are present, they're only mild in intensity. So it's not, they don't have a big deal going on, but they're mostly worried about what could happen. Something's coming. I just know. I'm worried. Okay, if another medical condition is present or there is a high risk for developing a medical condition, for example, strong family history is present, the preoccupation is clearly excessive or disproportionate. They worry about being sick all the time. All the time. They're just worried, thinking. Little twinge over here. That's it. It's come. You know, I'm waiting for it to get me. There's a high level of anxiety about health, and the individual is easily alarmed about personal health status. All right. The individual performs excessive health-related behaviors. For example, repeatedly checks his or her body for signs of illness. I've got blood pressure checkers and bringing pieces of paper with 50 readings a day. 50. It's like, please, you're alive, you know. They check. They get what's up, my blood pressure's not controlled. It's kind of like, you know, if you would spend half the time taking what we gave you, suppose checking your blood pressure, maybe it would be controlled. But they do. Or they check blood sugars all over the map. I went up to 155, and you told me I need to be between 80 and 120. I'm at 123, and I got checked. They check. They drive you crazy. It won't take long to figure them out. And they actually have a disease, let alone these people probably don't. They exhibit maladaptive avoidance. They either perform excessive health-related behaviors or they exhibit maladaptive avoidance. As they avoid doctor's appointments, hospitals, because if I go, he's going to tell me that this twinge in my arm is osteosarcoma. It's come. My son had it. I'm going to get it. I know it. Okay, the illness preoccupation has been present for at least 6 months. Okay. But the specific illness that is feared may change over that period of time. They could be worried about heart disease the first 3 months and then worried about brain tumor the next 3. But they're worried about something for 6 months, okay? The illness-related preoccupation is not better explained by another mental disorder. You also have to specify, are they a care-seeking type, you know, illness, anxiety, disorder, care-seeking type, which means they actually go to doctors, healthcare providers, or illness, anxiety, disorder, care avoidant type, where they stay away from people, but they're afraid they're dying all the time. Okay. Epidemiology and onset. Onset is usually in young adulthood. Okay, no preference by gender. It's a familial disorder, but there's no evidence of a genetic input. Question of possibly a learned behavior, who knows? A history of a childhood abuse or of serious childhood illness may predispose to development of the disorder in adulthood. In fact, a lot of these disorders where they don't quite know what's going on, they do speculate that they had an abusive or an unattended to childhood where they were ignored or pushed aside, and there may be this developing psychological need to draw people to you for some reason. I mean, it's just, this is all theoretical, but they tend to see more of that abuse or whatever in the past. May follow a major life stress or a serious but ultimately benign threat to the individual's health. So they could have had a divorce. Somebody could have died. Maybe their child had cancer that they were cured of, but after that episode, now they begin to fear. It may set off that need for being paid attention to that is reanimated from their past when they were not attended to. Here's some things you see with hypochondriacs or illness, anxiety disorder. Patients often present with fear and concern about disease rather than symptoms. Okay, they're afraid. What others experience as normal aches and pains are seen as evidence of serious disease. Relates history in very detailed manner, often with little affect. So they're telling you stuff, but they're just kind of straight-faced about it. The patients tend to be emotionally constricted and are limited in social, occupational, and sexual functioning. They're pretty much they're so focused on these issues that they don't really function outside of it that well. Many keep their own personal medical records. When a patient sits down and they show you all their records, be wary. It's not normal for people to sit down with a stack of medical records and they're coming to tell you. If somebody sat down with me and gave me all that stuff, I'd be thinking, okay, what's your game? Are you manipulating? Are you crazy? I mean, I would argue because that's not normal. It's not a normal way that people come in. Unless they had some significant cancer or some accident and they had been to healthcare providers who kept not paying attention or overlooking stuff, then that will make some sense. But if it's just a laundry list of all kinds of vague complaints over time, I'd be suspicious about it. Many of them have their own medical references, Merck or PDR. They might bring the book dog-eared and flip you open a passage. Please, this is what I'm reading, I have. Aren't you looking forward to this? Patients will feel short-lived relief when reassured they do not have a serious disease, but within hours or days, will doubt assessment and return for another visit. It does not last. Okay, how do you treat it? Rule out organic causes. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. If people come complaining about one thing or another, you have to work it up for what it is, such as there's a basis to do it. Limit invasive studies only when the clinical signs are present, so you don't just do, laparoscopy or, any kind of endoscopy just because. Patients see problems as physical, not psychological, so referring to a psychiatrist may destroy the report and they will go off looking for somebody else who will pay attention. They constantly scan their bodies for symptoms. This bump is a melanoma. This, I had a little indigestion. Is it my heart? My father died from a heart attack. It's just that type of personality. Each new complaint should receive a limited evaluation for the purpose of reassurance, unless there's something really going on. Treat comorbid conditions. Depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder are very common in this group of people, which would make some sense. Patients tend to be overly sensitive to medications. Again, start at low doses, encourage people to tolerate side effects, because every little twinge or something that's not right, not the way they usually are, when you take medicines, there usually is some little variation that can happen that's overinterpreted as toxicity or poisoning or another symptom of a new disease. So just be ready. That's why you dose them low and tweak them and just try to minimize care, because the more stuff you do, the more stuff you give them to get worried about. Okay. Prognosis, they run a chronic fluctuating course. Cure is not anticipated. Unfortunately, there may be some improvement with treatment of comorbid conditions in the patients with transient hypochondriasis in response to acute illness or life stress have a good prognosis and possibly complete remission. When they go into this after there's a key marker, then those people may actually do better than the people who are just hypochondriacal all the time, just running the course. So that's kind of the way it is. So, somatic symptom disorder, there's something and they're worried and they spend a lot of time worried about it, and to them the suffering is real. In anxiety illness disorder, they either don't have anything or what they have is very mild and minimal, but they are worried that it means something big is coming and they obsess over it, basically. Okay, now this is actually kind of funny, but it points out all the things, love, that's all this. Okay, y'all don't want to do it.
Do you ever get scared of Parkinson's disease?
Not specifically Parkinson's, but I'm not going to lie, I've had my bouts of hypochondria.
What's that?
That's thinking that you have diseases that you don't really have.
Oh my God, I have that.
Hypochondriasis, that's when you think that you have diseases. You kind of imagine and basically you think that you have something that you probably don't have. It's mostly in your mind.
So what's the problem this time?
This time I really think I have something. I mean, I'm absolutely convinced of it. It's not like that adenoidal thing, where I didn't realize I had them at me. So when I was younger.
Well, I saw your father this week about his sinus, and he complained of chest pains.
Well, this guy's the real hypochondriac of the family. I mean, he's.
What's wrong, Andy?
Just got a headache and seen double, and I got song stuck in my head and my teeth hurt. Also, hungry.
Okay, well, some of those things are symptoms, and some of them are just being a person. Did you hit your head?
No. Oh, yes, technically I did smash my head.
You mentioned on the phone that you had some dizziness.
Yes, a little dizziness, and I think I'm developing a hearing loss in my right ear. Oh, my left ear. My left. No, I'm sorry. My right and my left ear. Now I can't remember.
Okay, let's take a look.
Well, if it's a concussion, it's extremely mild, so I wouldn't worry about it. Anything else bothering you?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've got a weird rash in my knee pit area. And my tongue on this side doesn't taste anything anymore. Sometimes when I walk, my ankles make like a weird rattle. So.
Well, I'm sorry to say you have had a significant drop in the high decibel range of your right ear.
What else? Things that are far away from my eyes are fuzzy. I once did Twix with the wrapper on it, and I've never seen the wrapper come out. That's that's 25 years. I don't know. Broke my thumb on the way over here. It just.
Well, I can help you with the thumb.
No, I've been perfectly healthy. You know me, I always imagine that I have things.
When did you first notice this?
Well, about a month ago. What do I have?
You've got some busy spells. What about ringing and buzzing? You notice any of that?
Yes, now that you mention it, I have buzzing and also ringing.
I'll have to give you referrals for specialists for the other 1,000 things.
Wow, thanks for nothing, Dr. Harris.
You're welcome.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You didn't tell you how to bring it to me.
No, naturally, they're not going to tell you because, well, you know, sometimes the weaker ones will panic if you tell them. You were buzzing.
Nikki, come on, we got a show to do.
I can't keep my mind on the show.
But there's nothing wrong.
And the internet's making this worse, giving people the idea to run their symptoms and find all different types of diseases.
Keep calm. It'll be okay. Don't panic. I'm dying. I know it. There's a spot on my lungs. Now, take it easy with you. It's not on your lungs. It's on your ear. It's the same thing, isn't it? I can't sleep.
Well, in Chinese medicine, they have a very good cure. They give cockroaches or live beetles. Yes, they actually give these things to people because most of the time a hypochondriac doesn't want to eat those type of things. Here's the hypochondriac convention. Same as last year, everybody called in sick. Well, this actually can be the fact that there really is something that they haven't diagnosed, or perhaps they need to really look into it. So I think that you need to understand.
I had bugs for lunch.
Having cockroaches can help hypochondriasis. And if that cures you, then it's probably because you didn't really have a sickness anyways. But just like this fellow said, I told you I was sick. Hypochondriasis, gravestone.
Okay, but you get the point with the type of people that you're talking about. Okay, so there was really a big difference between the first and the second one. The second one is more imagined or very mild symptoms that are over-interpreted with a lot of anxiety that goes with that, whereas the first one's actually they have quite a bit of psychic distress and suffering over symptoms that to them are very real. Okay, now factitious disorders, made up stuff. Okay, this is interesting and disturbing at the same time. There are two different types: factitious disorder imposed on self and factitious disorder imposed on another. Okay, let's look at them. So factitious disorder imposed on self: falsification of physical or psychological signs or symptoms, or induction, that is inducing an injury or disease associated with an identified deception. These people are trying to trick you on purpose, and they're faking stuff, falsifying stuff, or doing stuff to make it look like something's wrong with them. Okay, the individual presents him or herself to others as ill, impaired, or injured. The deceptive behavior is evident even in the absence of obvious external rewards. And you have to figure that out, because there's another way to phrase something. If they do things to themselves and they don't have obvious external rewards, then you're looking at factitious disorder. If they do things to themselves and there are obvious external rewards, then it's called malingering, and that's not a psychiatric diagnosis. Okay, used to be, but not anymore. So let's just keep working through this one. The behavior is not explained by another mental disorder such as delusion or psychotic disorders. You must specify either single episode or recurrent episodes. So the diagnosis could be factitious disorder imposed on self, single episode, or factitious disorder imposed on self, recurrent episodes. Okay, now it gets worse. Factitious disorder imposed on another. This is the same thing: falsification of physical or psychological signs or symptoms, or induction of injury or disease in another. Somebody's doing something to somebody else to make them look sick or make them sick, associated with an identified deception. So they're intentionally trying to trick you by making somebody else sick, doing something to them. faking something or doing something, the individual presents another individual known as the victim, and the victim can be a child, it could be another adult, or it usually is a child, small child, or an older adult, under care, or a pet. And Lindsay, that's where I lost it. Because if I ever found somebody who did that to a pet, I would. Okay. To others as ill, impaired, or injured. So somebody's doing something to a victim. The deceptive behavior is evident even in the absence of obvious external rewards. Again, they're doing it, but there is no obvious reason what they're going to gain by doing it. And again, if you can prove what they're doing, it's not malingering here, it's a crime. Okay? It will be a crime anyway. The behavior is not better explained by another mental disorder, and the perpetrator, not the victim, receives the diagnosis. So the patient's in the bed, but the person who gets the diagnosis is the one who did it to the person in the bed. And you would still specify a single episode or recurrent episodes. Isn't this fascinating? I've seen this, and when you figure it out, it's like, you are crazy and whatever. Okay, now here's a word that have y'all heard this word before? Munchausen syndrome. This used to be what they call factitious disorder anyway, but it's not even in DSM-5 anymore. It's not a term that they use in DSM-5 at all, but it has such a historical context that it still has meaning. It's when you have a factitious disorder with mostly physical symptoms, not feigning, or not faking records or stuff like that, but it's physical symptoms where they've done something to themselves. Called Munchausen, a German baron who overstated and over-dramatized things, and so he kind of got this name. You be suspicious of this more extreme form of factitious disorder if the following are present, all of these things. Dramatic but inconsistent medical history. Unclear symptoms that are not controllable and that become more severe or change once treatment has begun. Oh, we're going to treat that, not something else. We're going to treat that, something else. They're determined to be sick. Predictable relapses following improvement in the condition. Because if it was working psychologically before, they'll have to have it come back because it just can't be given up that easily. Extensive knowledge of hospitals and or medical terminology, as well as the textbook descriptions of illnesses. They've been all over it. Presence of multiple surgical scars. Always be wary about that. Appearance of new or additional symptoms following negative test results. Okay, well, it's not your heart. Now my knee. Something's going on down there. Presence of symptoms only when the patient is with others or being observed. So they're limping, then you're out of the room, just going, they watch them. Too many cameras around these days to pull that one off as well as they would like to. Willingness or eagerness to have medical test operations or other procedures. They like stuff done to them. History of seeking treatment in numerous hospitals, clinics, and doctor's offices, possibly even in different cities. Reluctance by the patient to allow doctors to meet with or talk to family, friends, or prior doctors because the scam can be up. Problems with identity and self-esteem. Okay, so Munchausen syndrome is just factitious disorder when it's mostly physical symptoms, and those are some of the cues, and all of these cues honestly can be cues for factitious disorder for almost anybody, depending on how extreme it is. Okay, how do they do this? What kinds of things do people do? Here's how they do illness falsification: exaggeration of symptoms and feelings. I mean, they can fake psychosis. I mean, you can fake delusions. You can fake it. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, you can fake that. Exaggerate, you get lightheaded. Oh, I just go out and I'm out for an hour and nobody can move me, and just all this stuff that goes around it. Fabrication, lying just outright. Does it hurt when I do this? Yep, not hurting, but they lie. Adding blood to urine so that you have hematuria. Falsifying medical records. Inflicting wounds on self or others, like cutting yourself so you have to go get stitches. I had one in the VA. Oh, this is the best one of all. It's ridiculous. It was real, but it was self-inflicted. This patient was a narcotic-seeking patient, and he had been locked down on how many units he could receive in how many days. And the big trick they would do is just say, you shorted me by 60, and so they had to count everything on site, sign that they had 60. Because if you give them a bottle and they go out, well, you only gave me 55, trying to get 5 more. So you make them count and sign. Well, that had all been done. That was all locked up, and he was restricted to X amount of units per X amount of time. You couldn't get out of that paradigm. So when he got locked down like that, he got really angry. So he went out and got a revolver and shot himself through the calf, the fleshy part of his calf, just boom, and went to the ER and said, now, David, now you have to help me. It's like, moron. So he was down there, shot himself because now he needed pain medication, said, well, all you can get is this. Or, you know, you're restricted to this, you'll have to go someplace else. But they wouldn't see him because it was so obvious what was going on. Okay, that was kind of just crazy. All right, inflicting wounds on self or others. Simulation, faking a blackout or a seizure. I've seen people do that. Just flop out on the floor. Induction, ingesting a substance like taking insulin, get hypoglycemic, that'll create some symptoms. Taking warfarin, bleed out. I mean, it's crazy, you could kill yourself. Injecting fecal matter to produce an abscess or induce sepsis. I mean, really, people have done that, injected fecal matter into their bloodstream to get septic, or injecting it under the skin to get abscesses underneath the skin. Now, is that not crazy? Okay, that's crazy. Okay, here's some common medical problems used factitiously. Hypoglycemia, easy to induce. Insulin used to be over the counter. Did y'all know that? You just go out there, not over the counter, give yourself a shot and kill yourself. Okay, there's lots of ways to do it if you want to do it. Okay, GI bleeding. Okay, give them the white cards to go home and check themselves on 3 or 4 days and bring, mail them back in. Cut yourself. Put the blood in the stool sample, ship it out, blah, blah, there you go. Okay, now you have a GI bleed. Now we got to go work up your bowels. So you can get a surgery or an endoscopy or something like that. I know, it's just a young bleed. Pseudo seizures, anemia, being self-lobotomy, cut yourself, bleed yourself out, stop the bleeding, go in. Now your hemoglobin's at so-and-so level. Crazy. Brain tumors. How do you do that? Falsify a record, write in there, I've got this, act crazy from time to time, have a seizure, have uncontrollable headaches. Of course, it would only take a scan or two you can have figured out, but you can get some mileage before you had to move to another city. Mental disorders, feigning hallucinations and delusions. Okay, prevalence is unknown. How would you know? They're lying all the time anyway, so who's going to tell you the truth? I mean, you just don't know. The exact cause of factitious disorders not known. Probably biologic, psychological factors play a role in development. Again, who knows? Etiology. Some theories suggest history of abuse or neglect as a child, history of frequent illnesses in themselves or family members that required hospitalization. So who knows? Often they have histories of abuse, trauma, family dysfunction, social isolation, early chronic medical illnesses, or they have professional experience in healthcare. They got training as nurse and health aid worker or any health professional really, because they know stuff, and then if they have the tendency to go this direction, they can be pretty compelling because they know stuff. Etiology, maybe they're searching for nurturance. Many are caregivers, and maybe they want to be searching for a role reversal. They don't want to take care of somebody. Maybe they're sick and tired of taking care of their elderly parents, so they decide to make them look sick to get them off their hands and in the hospital. Or maybe they do something to themselves to be the person. Need for power and superiority, create a sense of identity. I have a person who actually did this. It was factitious disorder. She was a Hispanic lady. I think I told y'all this. I'll tell you this, the Hispanic lady, she was about 45 or 50 years old. She took care of her father, who was probably like 80, 85. He was mean. She was one of like 12 or 13 children. This was in Austin, Texas. And she was the baby. And everybody in the family, they pretty much lived all in the same area. Nobody wanted to take care of the father, so she got him. She had to stay and take care of him, or he stayed in her house, but she was the caregiver. She had hypertension, which she legitimately had, and she was prescribed like 4 or 5 medicines at big-time doses, unbelievable. And she'd come in with all this medicine that they thought she was taking, and she would have blood pressures through the roof. You couldn't understand why it was so high. And so people got really nervous about her and decided to put her in hospital because she just kept coming with blood pressures 200 over 140. She wouldn't have any symptoms, but it was too high to send her home. So I put her in the hospital, put her on the doses of the meds she was supposed to be on, and promptly her blood pressure plummeted through the floor, which meant she responded to everything and how. She actually was not taking the medicine, so her blood pressure would be high, so she'd get in the hospital, so she'd be declared sick enough, so she would be told that she didn't have to take care of this mean old man, so the rest of them would have to do it. So this is where she didn't do something to herself, she just refused to do something for herself so she would look bad so she could get in. And once that was discovered, I mean, they put her on all this medicine. I mean, we got phone calls. Although the team who got these phone calls, like, her blood pressure's down to like 60 over 40. And we only gave the medicines about an hour ago. It's like, put her on fluids, stop the presses, and just kind of clear out. So then it was a psych consult, and the psych consult revealed that she was desperate to get out of the household, desperate to get away. She was the short straw because she was the youngest, and they all dumped on her. And so she wanted to get out of it. Okay, need for power and superiority. The patient has a certain power and people move around and run around and scurry for them. Sense of identity, if you're otherwise a nobody, couldn't you become a somebody if you had an amazing illness that required all this attention? When you confront them, they typically get very angry. I mean, they will blow up, threaten lawsuits, carry us like, do what you gotta do. Okay. What's your differential on people like this? Somatic symptom disorder, that's one. It could be that they truly suffer, from something. But so you have to distinguish, motivation and intent and all of this, behind there. The individual's not trying to provide false information or be deceptive when they have somatic symptom disorder. When they have this disorder, they're actually trying to fake you out. Okay, conversion disorder. This is all I'm going to give you about this. Conversion disorder used to be called hysteria. That was a psychiatric diagnosis. She's hysterical. Okay, we say it when they're just kind of crazy and acting out and over-the-top dramatic. Well, hysteria was a diagnosis, and it's still a diagnosis called conversion disorder. Patient has one or more symptoms of altered voluntary motor or sensory function that is incompatible with recognized neurological or medical conditions. Give you an example, a normal EEG during a seizure. Okay, that's a conversion disorder, hysterical. I mean, acting out something way beyond what their dysfunction should be. Okay, they can be a borderline personality. Remember how they're manipulative, they can do all kinds of things. Medical condition or mental disorder, then malingering. Malingering used to be a medical diagnosis. It used to be a psychiatric diagnosis. It is no longer. It got removed from the book with DSM-5. So you can call a person a malingerer, but you can't diagnose them as a malingerer. Okay, they're just diagnosed nothing, malingering, vamoose, type thing. In malingering, there is an intention to deceive for personal gain. See, in Munchausen syndrome, they are trying to deceive, but you cannot see obvious gain for it. Okay, now they're given some etiologies about psychological need and control and power, but to them they don't know that they're doing that. Malingerers can do it to obtain drugs. Some do this more for a thrill of fooling a provider than because of addiction. I guess I'd say my man that shot himself in the calf would be a malingerer because he actually did it with pure secondary gain to get the drugs. To get out of obligations or work. Don't want to work, so they got to be sick. That's malingering. All right. How do you treat this disorder? First goal of treatment is to change the person's behavior and reduce his or her misuse of medical resources. That's the first thing for factitious disorder. In the case of this disorder imposed on another, the main goal is to get safety for the victim. Okay, you've got to do something. Once the initial goal is met, then you can resolve any underlying psychological issues that may be causing the person's behavior. Primary treatment is psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. Focuses on changing thinking and behavior of the individual with the disorder. Now, the family therapy, may be helpful in teaching family members not to reward or reinforce the behavior of the person with the disorder. There are no medicines to treat it, but you can use medicines for other things that might have, like anxiety or depression. Okay.